saw her. Well, it's 3:32. So why don't we have our call to order and a roll call, please? Yvette?
Commissioner Burling.
Here.
Commissioner Mickey.
Here.
Chair Myers.
Here.
Commissioner Sowers.
Here.
Thank you.
Let's go ahead and stand up for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you very much. We will begin our meeting with public appearances. Members of the public are entitled to speak on matters of municipal concern, not on the agenda during public appearances. Each person's comments shall be limited to 3 minutes or as otherwise established by the commission. Matters not appearing on commission's agenda will not receive action at this meeting, but may be referred to staff for a future meeting. Persons are not required to give their names, but it is helpful for speakers to state their names so that they may be identified in the minutes of the meeting. That being said, I'm going to go to chambers first. Is there anyone in chambers that would care to make a public appearance? Please step up to the podium. Dale Byrne.
Hello, commissioners. Dale Byrne. I'm speaking as Carmel Cares here. Actually, I'm going to start out as Dale Byrne, as a appreciative person in relation to poetry. So I don't know how many of you have ever seen this book, The White Sands. You probably do. Anybody else has seen this?
What is it called?
The White Sands of
The White
Carmel
Sands
by
of
Dora
Carmel.
Hagemeyer.
I think I have it.
Yeah, it's a wonderful little book, and if you haven't, I've got one, and you can, once in a while, you can find them, rarely on Amazon. But I just wanted to read you a poem because it sort of expresses as clearly as anything I've ever heard what your job is in this commission. So, and she wrote this in 1947. She lived in town. So this is 76 years old now.
Wow.
The prior right. Give praise that still one place remains where highways step aside for trees, where men are mindful to acclaim and grant the prior right of these, where if a dwelling need be built, they cut the wall to clear the stem and spare the boughs to save the guilt of ever setting axe to them. A place too lovely to believe that dares to hold a tree a creed and will not yield it to achieve the questionable boon of speed. I'll read one each time. I'm going to save them for you. So I'd like to catch up on a couple projects that Carmel Cares has been working on. The landscape barrier project phase 1 has been completed. We came in less than 10% over labor, which Carmel Cares covered, and less than 10% over materials, which the city covered. And even with that, there's probably 300 stainless steel bolts. We had to order 500 at a time, so there are some bolts that can be used in future phases, so it wasn't really 10% over. That being said, the materials that we ended up getting from Pacific Redwood Products, supplied by Jeff Sagi, who's a local, it was probably, I can't even rate it. It's almost perfectly clear wood when we picked Conhart, which has knots. He hand-selected every single 6x6 and every single 2x8. Drove it down in his trailer from Crescent City. So we had a supply chain going, and it came out really well. But the wood quality should have been twice as much, and if we were to pay for it. And we did 165 posts in 7 weeks, less 2 days. Shirley was there the entire time, so the labor was free for the volunteer supervision. My time was free. Tim Mallory's time was free, so we had a lot of probably 400 volunteer hours in the execution of the project. And we did 2x8s were probably 160. So the project, I think, was very successful. A lot of people have been telling me it's public art as opposed to a landscape barrier, so we're pretty happy with that. Another project that you approved, and we're working on the current phase, which is hardscape, which the city's putting 100,000, and we're probably 40,000 out of the 100,000 in terms of raising funds. We're getting money. We got 40,000 in the last 30 days. In fact, they cut me off on the electronic deposit. And I went into the bank and said, you said there was no limit. And they said, well, there's a $40,000 limit in 30 days. So that's all good news. So the other project that you approved was the native plant garden, which I'm hoping you all have gone up and seen. If not, we should have a tour to go see it. And I'm almost done. And we just got the plans back from Brian Congleton, who we hired and we're paying for, to do the ADA pathway. We still haven't walked it. I was hoping to walk it this week with Jamal and Brandon and Justin again. And then we'll make some modifications, and then we'll be submitting a permit, and we'll see if we can move forward with it. All right?
Where is that again, Dan?
It's at the top of the drive to the left, that large area to the left, which is originally where the pathway was going to go. In a council meeting, it was decided to move it from there over to the far side where they cut into the hillside. But we're going to basically have both now when we're done.
Dale,
Yes.
should the new wood have any preservative or anything on it?
We'll see. We're going to clean up the taller barriers. I'm working with Bob on that. And then we'll see how that looks. And if it looks good, we'll get some stainless hardware to replace that hardware. But
Okay.
we're going to start doing that in the next 2 weeks to see what it looks like.
Okay.
We'll see, though. Doesn't
Okay.
really need it. But if we do, you don't do anything with redwood for a period of time, because if you put anything on it, it'll just turn black.
Oh,
You have to let the acid leach out of the wood.
oh, that's good to
I've done a
know.
lot of that in my houses. All right, thank you.
All I know, Dale, is on behalf of the Forest and Beach Commission, I mean, outstanding. I mean, that whole pathway is
Yes.
just,
It's
Wonderful.
incredible.
it's incredible.
It's honestly
It's
incredible.
really what
Truly.
Carmel's
Seen it
all
like
about,
that.
and thank you and Shirley and the team that helped put that together, because it's what Carmel's about, and we appreciate your efforts.
Thank you. It was a lot of fun, and it's the first of hopefully many joint, what do you call them, matching fund projects. I think we've got a good business model.
And I think that I just want to say this, just ran into some people we just met this last week. In fact, that was the day that I had seen you. And they said, that was the most incredible fence. The man must have, I think he was in contracting, he was talking about all the cuts you made and the stainless steel, just, yeah, said it was incredible. Said
Yeah.
that the craftsmanship was incredible. So just, it's being noticed by others as well.
Thank you
Just
so
wanted to
much.
thank you.
And I didn't give credit to Tony Trujillo, who is the landscaping company that provided the laborers. And Tony, too, was down there periodically. And he was recommended by LB Builders, Cameron Stoddard. You can thank him for referring him to me,
Right.
because he was wonderful. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, let me know.
We like the poem, too. Thanks.
And to the city, thank you, Bob.
Yes.
Because we did contribute to that whole effort, and it
did? Yeah.
and it had to come from the city as well.
Bob, would
so-
you like to
Thank
make a
you.
public appearance about it?
Do I want to do public appearance?
Would you like to make
Absolutely. I don't even want to be here.
It's a team effort.
Wow. It's 2 slights. Anyone else from Chambers care to make a public appearance? It doesn't look like it, so I'll open it up to our Zoom folks. Anyone on Zoom care to make, if you want to put your hand, I see a couple mics went off right away. I don't know, it was a tie, but I'm going to go with you, Kelly, first. Would you care to say something? Make a
Well,
public
thank you
appearance?
for this opportunity. I'm just going to briefly go through this. That I'm a third-generation homeowner in Carmel, as some of you know. I'm the lead volunteer for the Carmel Cares pickup posse for Carmel Beach. And I, along with other Carmel Cares volunteers, have been picking up a shocking amount of trash and dog waste on Carmel Beach for more than a year. Carmel Cares has photos of the myriad buckets of litter. Then the photos document what most in our community would find stunning and unacceptable if they were aware of the extent of the problem.
Kelly, do you mind for 1 second? I'm sorry. You know, not to discount your comments at all, but this is an agenda item for us, and so would you mind saving your comments for the opportunity when we reach that, which is, I believe, number 3 on our order of business? Is that okay?
Yeah, this was just a request for a partnership, but yeah, I'm fine with waiting if that's appropriate.
Okay, I
Thank you.
appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So thanks. Anyone else? It looks like, Linda, your mic is not muted, so I imagine you've got something that you'd like to make a public appearance upon?
Yes, I can't read the statement, but I was going to read it at the last special session, but my husband's going to read it. It's a statement by Joyce Stevens, who the Pine Preserve was named after. She has been working on Monterey pine forest issues for many, many decades, and she wanted to have her voice heard about the Monterey pine forest and Carmel's relationship to it. So my husband's going to read her statement, if that's all right.
That'd be great, thanks. And I
Okay,
felt
all right.
we did cut
Turning it
that
over
off.
to-
I apologize in our last meeting, so I'm glad to have you make an
That's
appearance here
okay.
this morning. Thanks.
Okay, this is Jackson.
Ahoy! And here is the statement. Carmel-by-the-Sea, founded in 1903 as a village in a Monterey pine forest, has been my home since the early 1960s. I've worked with Monterey Pine Forest Watch for over 30 years to advocate for and educate people about the remarkable native forest ecosystem in which we all live, whether we realize it or not. The peninsula's Monterey Pine Forest is the beautiful green backdrop of our day-to-day lives and the source of the countless biological and life-enhancing services that support us. These services are rendered so freely that they are very often taken entirely for granted. Monterey pines have been evolving in California for 15 million years, eventually finding their footing along the coast. They have responded to climate changes of the past, expanding and contracting their range through geologic time, now being one of the rarest forest ecosystems on Earth, found only in 3 stands on the coast of California and on 2 small islands off Baja. Of the 3 coastal stands, ours is the largest and most diverse in associated species, a number of which are found nowhere else on Earth. It is also the most ancient, being the mother forest of the other 2. Our present forest evolved over a couple of 100,000 years on a series of ancient marine terraces, each exhibiting special plant associations. In Carmel, those terraces are overlaid with sand dunes of varying ages, and our remaining old veteran pines, no doubt, have genetic traits forged in this particular environment. While rare and threatened in its homeland, Monterey pine is the most widely planted pine in the world, with a multi-billion-dollar timber industry based upon it. The genetic information found particularly in our forest, and that of Año Nuevo, is of great value to this industry. So we have to be careful to steward this ecosystem wisely for many reasons. Carmel's literary, artistic founders were unique in their attitude toward our portion of this forest ecosystem. They chose to respect and celebrate it and fit into it, rather than cut it down to make way for them. It is the only municipality on the peninsula that made that choice, and we all have benefited from their choice to this day. So my concern is that we keep all of this in mind and utilize science and respect for our historic relationship to these wonderful trees. And remember that we will always be, in actual fact, a village in a Monterey pine forest.
Okay.
Thank you. That was Joyce's statement.
Well, thank you very much, Linda and Jackson. Appreciate it. Is there anyone else online that would like to make a public appearance? I don't see any hands coming up, so we'll go ahead and close public appearances and hand it over to our director. Announcements.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Only got 2 announcements today,
Okay.
which is a lot less than the 5 last time. A couple of upcoming special events that I think the commission should be aware of. One is this Saturday, September 16th, the Sandcastle competition on the beach between 10th and 12th. It's it's at 8 o'clock until 2 o'clock. Okay, so you want to be there. Second, you should have gotten an email. If not, it will be very shortly, a ribbon cutting at the Forest Hill Park for the new play, the Leadership Carmel play equipment that's been installed. The ribbon cutting will be Thursday, September 28th at noon. So be on the lookout for an email on that. If you didn't get one, we'll forward it to you. Last but not least for this month, Community Day is Saturday, September 30th in Devendorf Park. Don't think I have the details yet. It's 10 to 2, I think, something like that. And it's opportunity to thank our volunteer groups and different community organizations that help the community day in and day out throughout the year. So be on the lookout for those special events. And the second thing is, we were trying to get it on the agenda for today. It's not quite ready, but it's most likely will be on the agenda for next month. So the next month, the major topic, probably, if not the major, one of the most major topics will be the Community Wildfire Risk Assessment Report. This is a report that's been a couple of years in the making. It's with the City of Monterey, the City of Pacific Grove, City of Carmel teamed up together with one consultant to prepare a report. There's a pretty interesting report online today, but it's not quite done. And then the technical report is coming. It's any day now. It'll be about 40 pages. The thought would be is, I'm giving you a heads up that we'll probably send it out before the next meeting. So you'll have some time, not just 3 days or something to look at it. Give you more time to get a copy of the report, or we'll send you the links for either the hard copy or the interactive maps and things that are on the website. Okay? So be on the lookout for that. That'll be a very important topic to talk about fire fuel reduction and at the interface between the urban areas and the parks. That's it for announcements for me.
Okay, thanks. Having recently visited the Forest Hill Park there and taken a look at the installations, it sure is nice. And I enjoyed watching some really young kids jumping off the stumps and playing around, so excited about that installation. All right, well, with announcements being concluded, we'll get to the consent agenda. Items on the consent agenda are routine in nature and do not require discussion or independent action. Members of the commission or the public may ask that any items be considered individually for purpose of commission discussion and or for public comment. Unless that is done, one motion may be used to adopt all recommended actions. We have one item, and that's the August 10th, 2023 meeting minutes.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, we did receive a public comment this morning about the minutes. It refers to the minutes, public hearing number 3. We assessed this. We believe that the minutes are accurate as written, and we could, I guess, add the public comment to the record. What do we do there?
I'll have to confirm with Nova because it came after the fact. I'll confirm with Nova when she gets in.
All right, but anyway, the minutes are correct as written,
Yes.
we believe.
What are they saying? What are they?
Got it. There is a public comment that's in your packet, so noted that it's received.
It refers to the item that was heard last month and is referenced in the minutes, but it doesn't change the minutes.
Okay, well, we'll probably just note it in this meeting's minutes that we did receive it. Perfect. With that in mind, anyone care to make a motion?
I'm gonna make a motion to approve the minutes.
Okay, so did you hear that? He was not really speaking.
Yeah, make a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll second the motion.
Commissioner Burling,
Here. Or, yes.
Commissioner Mickey,
We know where you
Yes.
Chair Myers,
Yes.
Commissioner Sowers.
Yes.
Thank you. The motion is passed.
All right, moving right along. Wow, look at the pace. Public hearings. We've got
no, not yet.
one item on our public hearings today. It's the consideration of the removal of one Monterey pine tree at the northwest corner of Lincoln Street and 12th Avenue. I believe I'm turning that over to you, our forester, Mr. Justinano. Is that correct? Or, sorry.
To start, Tom Ford, our analyst, will be presenting as there is a report from Frank Ono. It was determined there's no conflict because the report was written in February.
I saw your name with that asterisk on it, so yeah, got it. Perfect. Tom.
Correct. Thank you very much. Good afternoon. The background on this public hearing is that the pine located on the Gould property proposed for removal is due to concerns that the tree is damaging the adjacent house. When the applicant submitted this permit application, there was an arborist report, as Justin had just indicated, by Frank Ono. In that report, the tree was found to be healthy, no significant signs of disease, insect infestation. Now, the tree is located 2 or 3 inches away from an outer wall of the home. Mr. Frank Ono did not report any major observable cracks in the outer wall, but did note visible disruption to the roof trim and cracks to a nearby walkway. Unclear or undetermined if that disruption to the trim was caused by the tree. He had indicated, in fact, in the report that perhaps a structural engineer might be able to assess to determine if the tree is in fact what was damaging the foundation or causing damage or disruption to the structure. Well, Justin had already, our city forester had already indicated that our director does not believe there is a conflict of interest there. We believe that the information that from both reports and both opinions is relevant and factual. Regarding our city forester's assessment of the pine, also found it to be relatively good, healthy condition. Contends that there would be certainly a case there for some type of structural evaluation report that would be valuable. Hence the recommendation there to perhaps approve a removal only if there is, reasonable long-term architectural or engineering remedies for this situation. There is a relevant Carmel Municipal Code section there at the bottom of the first page to remove trees that are causing substantial damage to a building that cannot readily be repaired or alleviated on a long-term basis. Let's see, and skipping down to a possible replanting, should there be one, aka should the pine be approved for removal, there does appear to be adequate space to replant one upper canopy tree. That's just about it. I wanted to toss it over to Justin in case he would like to elaborate on anything.
Thank you, Tom.
Thank you, sir.
I think Tom covered most of it. We went out today and we looked. The tree's pretty healthy. It is growing very close to the house, and there is damage to the house that, as not being a structural engineer, I couldn't say with 100% certainty that was from the tree. I field any questions from the commissioners?
May I ask a first question? Justin, could you clarify the recommendation? Since we do not yet have a structural report of any sort, is your recommendation at this point deny?
Yeah, deny.
Based on the information we have today?
Based on the information we have, unless it can be proven that the tree is damaging the house and there's no way to fix it without cutting the roots.
Which we don't know yet.
Which we don't know, at me not being a structural engineer.
Any other questions from the commission about what has been presented to us?
Tom, it's
Yep, Tom.
Pardon me for forgetting one perhaps relevant piece of information. We had reached out to the applicant and requested if there was or if there could be a structural evaluation. They had indicated that they would like to proceed with what the, as is, with what the commission's determination would be, as is.
Okay, thanks for that add-on. Is there, do we have the applicant present at all? I don't see anyone in chambers. It looks like they're representing this, but there are a couple names, at least one name. No?
No.
So the applicant is not present. Should I ask if there's any public comment?
Absolutely.
Yeah, got it. So I'll open up to any public comment. I'll go to chambers first. Anyone in chambers that would care to comment on this consideration? Doesn't look like it. Anyone in our online Zoom community care to comment on this, the consideration of the removal of this pine tree? I don't see any hands coming up, so I'm going to close the public comment and bring it back to the commission for discussion. Who would like to lead it off?
So I guess this is Commissioner Sowers. I mean, I'll lead it. I mean, I did observe that the tree does have a lean to it and leaning towards the street. And it is in very close proximity to the house. So if there was any movement of that tree from the base, there is the potential for the potential damage to the foundation area and specifically around the fireplace area and this or that. And again, overall concern with the change in wind speeds we've been having with storms in the prior winters. I think it's a worthwhile consideration to have the tree removed.
Anyone else?
I just wanted to mention the age of the tree. I did ask Justin, and he determined it was probably about 80 to 100 years old. And with the lifespan of a tree of that nature, Monterey pine, it appears as though it is in its sort of final years at this point. So with that, it had a lot of woodpecker damage around the tree. On the sidewalk there were several cracks. So it looks as though it's causing some damage, as well as it sort of appears to be at the end of its life.
Yeah, it appeared that the walkway was lifting and the deck a little bit, and there was a lot of activity from the woodpeckers storing their acorns. Not necessarily damage. Some older pines, because their bark is so thick, they'll store their acorns there. They call it a greenery tree.
I think I have a greenery house, if that's the case. For clarification, from our tour, I thought that you had said that a pine's life can be 100 to 120 years old?
80 to 120, 80 to 100. I mean, really pretty close to human being, 80 to 100. Some live less, some live more. So
okay.
Close.
Got it, thanks. I just, for some reason in my mind, I had 120, so thank you for that. Commissioner Burling?
Well, I wondered who was going to get all the acorns out before the tree comes down. I would move that the tree be taken down for the safety of both the people who count on the electricity that would go if the tree went down, and for the safety.
Okay, well, I'd like to have an opportunity to have some input before we make any motions, if that's okay. Appreciate it. Thank you. I had a question about the submission of the original application. What is the original application date? Because down here, this said 6/14/23. Is that the original application for a tree removal?
Yes.
Okay, so that's the original one. And then you referred her to us sometime in August or some.
Yeah, the report was submitted in February.
Okay, February.
And
thank you. That's right.
I think it was lost during the storms because people, the tree service had a lot going on, and then when they finally, got around to it, the actual permit was submitted in late June, yeah. So then we were looking at it and, going off the fact that there was a possible conflict in the report, we decided to send it to Forest Beach Commission.
Okay, thanks. So from my perspective, a couple things. Looking at the damage that you see to the house along the trim, it looked like relatively fresh damage. So yeah. I'm imagining that it most likely took place during the storm periods, but I don't know. But it just seems very fresh. And noticing, and I know Commissioner Tamara said the same, that there was some the pathways. But interesting enough, as Commissioner Sauer says, the tree is leaning away from the home. The pathway actually is on the side of the lean. So really, I'm imagining if you digging up the root system, you're going to find roots that are going kind of out and around, right?
Yeah, so Monterey pines are conifers, and the way they brace themselves is different than oaks, the hardwoods. They put their wood out underneath. Like if you cut a pine branch, you'll see the rings are larger on the bottom because that's called compression wood. And they have a lot of roots underneath the lean acting as outriggers, as opposed to, roots is behind them as well, but they have a lot of roots that go out as outriggers.
Got it, thanks, that's great. So I look at the tree, it's got a really healthy canopy. And also, Commissioner Burley and I talked about just having looking down the street at some other examples of some pines that aren't architecturally really nice to look at, where this tree actually is, even with the woodpecker holes in and up and down.
It's really healthy.
Right, struck me like that, and just going back to the ordinance, which says that, we're authorized to approve the removal if it's causing substantial damage to a building, and reading back a little bit further, and when it comes to a healthy tree, this is a consideration. I'm as much as I'm concerned, to a point about the structure at some point with the home being so close to the tree. I would really feel like we should be agreeing with the forester in this situation and having some structural reporting done before we take out this really beautiful 80-foot pine that sits on the corner that many, many people drive by, walk by, see, enjoy. And yeah, I'm not going to stand really hard on this, but I would think that this owner seems to appreciating the tree. It seems like it's been well maintained. I don't know how long they've owned the home, but it's been there for a while, and I hate to see it go because there's a few exterior cracks that's all we see. So that's, I would, if I was making a motion, I'm not going to, but I'll wait to see what the rest of you, if there's some additional discussion here at all, or
I have a question.
Yeah.
For Justin.
Yeah.
How much longer do you think that the tree has? If you don't feel as though it's currently dying, in that there's no disease, how much longer do you think that the tree would survive in its current condition?
Oh, you make me, it's hard. Outside of the tree falling over, which it hasn't yet, and it's relatively structurally sound, I'd say at least 5 to 10 years. It's fairly vigorous. A lot of new wood being put on at the base, and the needles are pretty green compared to some of the trees around the city.
May I ask, Justin, if you said that they could go up to 100 years, would this be one of the candidates that could, you said it's about 80 years old now?
It's 80 to 90, I would imagine.
Okay, you think this one would make it to 100?
It probably could.
This would be one of those cases that most likely would make it to 100.
It's really healthy.
Okay.
Any other discussion?
I'm willing to kind of make an adjustment on this. So I think what we've done in the past, where we stated the fact that, again, if the homeowners really want to have this out of there, maybe they need to step up and have the structural review. And that we could say that if they came back to us again, that we wouldn't, we'd honor their permit for the future, and that they could come back at any point in time to have this reviewed again for removal, and give it, either get a structural review or give it another year or two and see how the tree, if the cracks grow bigger, they're seeing structural damage, or they want to go have some structural damage review. And I would say that if we could allow them to have their permit into, I don't know, perpetuity, but at least some kind of time period where they wouldn't have to come back and deal with another permit, I'd be open to that idea.
I like that. Can we quantify the time frame?
We can't predict the rules of the future, but this commission has several times in the past couple of years said for the next, I think we put time limits, takes 5 years, that if this, the applicant would be exempt from reapplying for the permit fee, unless there's some new regulation that's out there that could be.
Yeah, I mean, if they were anxious to get it out, and they really felt, I think if they could get that engineering study done that showed that there was progressive damage at the foundation and chimney level, then we would approve the removal. But I think subject to that,
and 5 years is more than enough.
5 years gives them quite a bit of time. If they see more cracks going on, they can document that. Then, they could come back to us without, a permit application.
So I'm sensing a consensus. I don't know if it's all the way. Oh, well, I think then, if you wouldn't mind, would you care to word that into a motion, and we can see if we can get this through?
As a motion, we would allow the homeowner to resubmit their application either with an engineering study that addresses any damage, or over the next 5 years, they could come back to us with any further movement of the tree that they were concerned about, and we would review it at that time for removal. Potential removal.
The first part of that, though, would be we're denying the...
We are denying this removal permit at this time, but with the opportunity to review this again over the next 5 years and/or subject to a structural review or any other movement that the homeowner felt was appropriate for our review for removal. Does that
I
make
would
sense?
second that motion.
Is that good?
I think we have something that's...
Did that motion
Did that
include
Would that work for you?
You got-
Did that motion include to be exempt from the permit fee?
Right. Or 5 years.
audited.
You get the 5 years, I'm not sure, but the permit fee
Yeah,
part.
permit fee would be,
That was in there, right?
yeah,
Sure.
grandfather. I said permit, I didn't say fee, but yeah.
Okay,
permit.
close enough. All right,
Okay.
permit fee, all right,
Yeah.
okay.
Great, thank you.
So we have a second.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Then we-
Commissioner Burling,
Yes.
Commissioner Mickey,
Yes.
Chair Myers,
Yes.
Commissioner Sowers.
Yes.
The motion is passed.
Okay. Thank you very much. Good work, everyone. Well, that wraps up our public hearings, and then we're going to step out into orders of business. Orders of business are agenda items that require city council, board, or commission discussion, debate, direction to staff, and/or action. We have 4 topics. The first one is the consideration for establishing guidelines for Carmel Beach cleanups and a marine protected area sign. It looks as if we are handing this over to Mary.
Yes. Thank you.
Oh, and we got a slideshow. All right. And who brought the popcorn?
There we go. Great. Okay, thank you. Good afternoon, Chair and Commissioners. Today we have 2 items before you this afternoon. The first is we are looking at obtaining feedback from you on the city's guidelines for the proposed Carmel Beach cleanup policy. And the second one is review and approval of one marine protected area sign near the Del Mar parking lot and at the end of Ocean Avenue.
I think it's pointed to the laptop, not the screen.
Aha.
Tom pushed the button last week on the survey, I think, right?
Okay, I'll just use these. Okay. Oh, yeah. Okay, sure. Thank you. Thank you. All right, so first we're going to discuss the background of the different governing agencies that protect Carmel Beach. The beach lies within the Monterey Bay National Marine Sanctuary and is part both of the Carmel Bay State Marine Conservation Area and Area of Special Biological Significance. These protected areas are designated by both state and federal regulatory agencies, including NOAA, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Association, California Department of Fish and Wildlife, the Coastal Commission, and also the State Water Resources Control Board. As part of these protected areas, Carmel Beach has offered countless services that span across cultural, economic, recreational, and ecological resources. The Coastal Act identifies the beach as a distinct and valuable natural resource and exists as a delicately balanced ecosystem. One of the Coastal Commission goals is to protect, maintain, and enhance and restore the quality of the environment and its resources. The city's environmental staff reviewed the rules and regulations governing Carmel Beach. We contacted several federal and state regulatory agencies in preparation of drafting up the beach cleanup regulatory policy. One particular important point of interest that I wanted to point out was that part of the California Department of Fish and Wildlife's Carmel Bay State Marine National or Marine Conservation Area states that it's unlawful to injure, damage, take, or possess any living, geological, or cultural marine resource except for finfish. The regulatory staff at CDFW and the Marine Sanctuary also confirmed through emails that nothing natural can be removed below the mean high tide line except for finfish. That means that driftwood and beach wrack, which is seaweed and rocks and shells below the mean high tide line, cannot be removed. So the depiction that we have up in front of you, you can't see it very well, but it shows where the mean high tide line falls on Carmel Beach, and it's the area that is east of that mean high tide line falls within the jurisdiction of the city of Carmel and is subject to the proposed beach cleanup policy. The city's current regulations that fall within the general plan and the zoning code are that the coastal access and recreation element of the general plan restricts the removal of driftwood logs that can provide seating, but the general plan does not address smaller driftwood. And then the zoning code includes a rule on the disturbance of natural resources that prohibits digging and removing beach sand, with the exception of things like the sandcastle contest. Okay. So the city is proposing to establish a new policy for the Carmel Beach cleanup operations to clarify that what can be removed from the beach and what should remain on the beach, and that would be above the mean high tide line. Today, we're requesting feedback from the Forest and Beach Commission and from the public on the draft new cleanup policy guidelines. The purpose would be establishing the guidelines to increase public awareness on the important role that Carmel Beach and its natural resources serve, and promote consistency on how beach cleanups are conducted while ensuring its environmental integrity is protected. Until the city's adopted policy becomes part of the Muni Code, enforcement would be in the form of warnings. For the area that's below the mean high tide line, violations can be reported to the CalTIP hotline that's enforced by the CDFW warden. So on the left side, and I think it's in your packet as well, of the table, it provides examples of human waste. Things like cigarette butts, burned firewood and charcoal, construction debris, ropes, styrofoam, toys, things like that. On the right side provides examples of naturally occurring items that could be on the beach, and that is algae, coral, feathers, ocean water, the rocks, sand, things like that. And then we also have included examples of items to recycle and also hazardous waste items and what to do with those items if they're found. We have also included on the second page steps to follow if you come across a live or deceased animal. And in the lower right-hand corner table, we provide where to take the lost and found items, which is basically to the police department. The subject of leaving beach wrack, it's the scientific term for washed up kelp, seaweed, seagrasses, driftwood, or other organism materials on the beach, has come up in recent discussions with several residents in the city. And concerns have revolved around the aesthetic of the beach wrack and its need to be removed due to kelp flies and concern regarding health hazards and annoyance with the flies' presence. Studies have shown that the beach grooming activity eliminates important ecological services. Beach wrack serves as a major source of food and shelter for various organisms, including kelp flies, beach hoppers, which in turn supports shorebird species like the endangered western snowy plover. It also supplies the environment with essential nutrients for other plants and also promotes dune formation and is needed to help and protect coast from strong storm events. Staff is recommending that the beach cleanup guidelines leave the beach rack in place in order to support biodiversity, health, and ecological services at Carmel Beach. The second part of the staff report is a new marine protected area signage. This has been led by the California Marine Sanctuary Foundation, the Marine Protected Collaborative Network, and is funded by the Ocean Protection Council. They partnered with California Department of Fish and Wildlife. They are proposing to locate the sign at the end of Ocean Avenue in the near the Del Mar parking lot. Our code requires that it be placed, regulatory signs be placed near the trash cans down at the end there. The dimensions of the sign are 18 by 24, and it would be made out of aluminum, similar to the other signs that are down at that end of the beach. And the timeline is basically within the next year that they're talking about implementing the sign. And the sign, they've drafted up a mock of the sign, which I have up on the screen. And it has all the information on it, and even a QR code that you can for in type of enforcement. I have Nicole Palma, who's the program manager and Central Coast specialist of the Marine Protected Area Collaborative Network. She is on the phone and is able to answer any questions specific to the MPA sign. So I'm here to answer any questions, if there are any.
Okay, thank you very much for that presentation. So commissioners, staff is seeking feedback from us first, and then second, an approval of the sign. We've got a couple resources of folks to ask some questions to. Does anyone have anything right off for Mary?
So I have a couple of questions, Mary, because I appreciate this is a complex issue because there's so many different jurisdictions that are kind of overseeing this whole deal. And I know, at least from my listening to our city council, where the city of Carmel is very sensitive to date on having other jurisdictions have control over things that are near and dear to the city of Carmel. Take the housing element and the state's mandate on that issue. So I think it's important that in this that we're very clear about the jurisdictions, and I think you've done a pretty good job of outlining the different entities that are there. And I know one of the things that's been near and dear to me, and I know even Carmel Cares has been involved, is this whole issue of driftwood, and the amount of driftwood that we've been taking over the last couple winters has gotten overwhelming. And I think a lot of it sits at what I would say the other side of the high tide line. So my sense is a lot of it could be removed. The question is, how much of it. My concern is that Carmel is a little different than other beaches because we allow dogs off leash onto our beach, which is very different than any other beach or many other beaches in California. I think we're actually the only one that's off leash. And being an observer of the dogs off leash, a lot of their increment is being sprayed all over the driftwood. So we've got driftwood that's contaminated, that's sitting down here, and then kids grab it and play with it and build it and create forts with it. And I have a real concern that we're in a little different scenario because of that issue. And how do we address that? I think we've talked with Carmel Cares, with Bob a little bit about having a beach cleanup where we take a lot of the driftwood off the beach, obviously leaving some of it potential. And I don't want to make sure that whatever policy that we have doesn't segue that we as a city, along with our partners, whether it's Carmel Cares or regular volunteers, would be restricted from doing that because we've set a policy now that says we can't remove driftwood. And I'm looking to you as a question. If we set this policy, can the city and these respective volunteers, such as Carmel Cares or other volunteers, can we override that policy and remove some level of driftwood from the beach that's, creates a concern? And it's just not maybe the small driftwood. It might even be the big logs we have that if the next big storms come in here and those logs start moving and get run up against our infrastructure, are they gonna damage the seawalls, the riprap, you know, and things of that nature? I think we've got plenty of seating. In fact, we have still an issue with the Planning Commission about seating up on the scenic pathway, and we've put logs up there anyway to segue some of that seating. I think we've got plenty of seating. I don't know whether the seating for the bigger logs was for beachgoers on the beach, but I think I'm concerned about those bigger logs staying down there and being a battering ram for the next storms that come in. So a couple of questions there.
Mr. Chair, can I answer some of those questions?
Yeah.
Sure,
And then-
but I'm just going to
And then Mary can correct me when I mess up.
I'm just going to interject before you do, so I don't forget. But I'm pretty sure I heard that that volleyball community would love to have some of those big, huge logs up there to sit on around the courts. Just I might have heard that. I don't know where. So anyway, but please.
Yeah, a couple things.
where's your
Well, actually, 4 quick comments, not announcements, quick comments. One is that Commissioner Sauer's comments, almost all of them have been discussed since Mary and Jessica wrote the report and preparing for this presentation. So I don't know if we're reading Commissioner Sauer's mind better, but a lot of these things have been already discussed. So
You discussed them as a part of putting the policy.
Yeah, putting this together, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, but that's good. Second, Mary touched base on this just a bit. I wanted to reemphasize this. We're trying to establish a consistent way to clean up the beach. Public Works staff cleans it up. Person 1 cleans it up one way. Person 2 cleans it up a different way. Carmel Cares goes out, and their person number 3 cleans it up one way, and their person 4 cleans it up one way. Then we have Town and Country out there, and everyone's doing it inconsistent. Okay? So what we were trying to do the last couple of months is like, let's get our arms around this. Keep doing what we're doing. Don't call Fish and Wildlife Service, please, while we're trying to get our ducks in a row. But we're trying to be consistent. Second thing that may not be clear is we're asking for, like she said, we're asking for feedback from the commission and the public, compile all this information, take it to the city council. So this would be, potentially would become a city policy. So this is like the working draft of that policy. Third thing would be, Mary, you mentioned the mean high tide, and the graphic is not the best graphic.
Right.
After reading about this for the past 2 weeks, I'm starting to better understand. Beyond the high tide line to the west, that's the jurisdiction of the state.
Correct.
We could fight the state, but that's a different topic. That's a different animal.
Right.
Fighting the state's hard. From the mean high tide line to the bluffs or to the wall or whatever it is, that distance is undefined. And yes, we do have some more wiggle room in our policy, or to amend our general plan, whatever, we have some wiggle room there. But part of the climate committee's emphasis, or the projection, consider sea level rise. So could you explain maybe more about, if we say, gee, it's 10 feet from the bluff today, then 2 years from now we have to come back with a policy, well, it's 8 feet now.
Right, okay.
Or a few years later, it'd be 6 feet now.
Yeah.
So we're trying to come up with something with a long-term solution so that we can be consistent for the long term. Can you clarify that a little bit?
Sure. I had spoke to several different people from some of the regulatory agencies and was trying to get a good map of where the mean high tide line was, just so that it was clear. But speaking this morning with somebody from CDFW, they had indicated that every 10 years, NOAA defines where the mean tide high line is along the coast. And I don't know where we are exactly in that process right now, but with looking at the mapping that I saw from the CDFW, it looked like, there is a couple of feet. Some of the coves at Carmel Beach might have more space, but the majority of it is a couple of feet.
Couple of
And
feet from where?
from the edge of the cliff, of the bluff.
From the edge of the bluff is 2 feet, that's it, for the meantime?
Yeah, because
Wow.
it's basically, and what someone explained to me was that it's where you see the beach rack line is depending upon when that mean high tide line is basically where that line is with the beach rack. And I know it changes during the year and with,
Because I was reading something where it said like there was they take a 20-year span to determine the
Yeah.
mean tide.
And different-
Obviously, as time goes on with sea level rise, it's going to move further and further. But your understanding is right now that line is 2 feet from most of the bluffs?
Just looking at a pretty cursory map of it, that's, it looked like the majority of the beach, more than half of the beach was within the jurisdiction of the state.
But I think, if I may, I think we're skirting the issue about whether it's 2 feet, 10 feet, 12 feet, 6 feet. That number's going to change apparently every 10 years.
Every 10 years with the,
okay,
and
but
also sea level rise.
If we don't set a consistent policy, then 8 years from now, somebody's going to be out there and go, oh, look at all this rack up against the seawall. Let's kick it 3 feet to the west. Now we can clean it up. Well, I think we're trying to be, let's just be consistent on the whole beach. Yes, there's a sacrifice, but again, there's the environmental benefits, the ecological benefits that keeping the natural stuff throughout the beach.
Yeah, and that's
even in the darn coves.
That's where I was going, kind of with the beach rack, and we did a bunch of research on beach rack.
We're
There's
trying to do one policy, in the coves, it's policy number 2.
Right.
And in the high tide line, it's policy number 1, and in this high tide area, it's policy number. We need to have one.
Consistent,
Think that's what we're recommending.
Yeah.
A one consistent policy for the whole thing.
Sounds like we're getting a lot of feedback from Bob about this, but maybe we'll see what the rest of the commission might think.
Yeah, go back to the commission.
Is there anyone else on the commission that would like to make some comments about this? Provide some feedback?
Not right now.
Okay, I have a couple things, just a couple questions. First, you had mentioned that you had contacted several of the agencies. Does that mean that some of them didn't respond, or?
No, we heard back from the majority. Coastal Commission, CDFW, the NOAA, the Marine Sanctuary. I mean, we were, between Jessica and I think we exhausted our list of who we thought to contact.
Got it. And so you're taking from them kind of like their best practice and then attempting to create what's going to be Carmel's policy.
Correct.
Is that, okay, perfect.
Yeah.
That's how I just want to make sure I understood. You're not going to take one of theirs and have them supersede what Carmel wants to do, right?
Say that again.
Well, you're creating your own policy. I just wanted to be, because I think Commissioner Sowers has expressed some concern that perhaps one of these other agencies might suddenly be in charge of what does or doesn't come off of our beach. And I just want to understand that's what your intention is, to reach out to them, have their best practices, understand what their stipulations are, and then from that form what will be Carmel's policy, right?
Correct.
Okay, then is that policy, once it's created, is the city can still come in and do things that are necessary, like in any circumstance, right? So this is really
If there's
essentially
a public safety or
public safety
storms,
exempt,
right. So this becomes a policy that it's established for residents, visitors, and just kind of general practice of beach maintenance, and then it would apply, of course, then to volunteer groups or anyone that just feels like they want to come down and help clean up.
Well, if it's a policy, a support group, city staff, and our city contractors must comply with all city policies.
Okay.
Residents who come in over a weekend and pick up trash, if there's no enforcement officer there at the time, that's probably unstoppable, but we're trying to be at least consistent policy.
Got it. Okay, I'm just making sure I understand. And then in terms of removal or moving, when it comes to, let's just stick with the driftwood, and I might even venture to guess that because we don't do beach fires anymore, we might be having a lot more driftwood just because people aren't burning it. But is the intention of this policy to where it's a no touch, or because as we see, all of us that are on the beach on a regular basis, people are moving driftwood and creating all sorts of structures, et cetera? What is the thought process around
Dogs
that?
are picking it up. I mean, it's,
dogs.
I mean,
sure.
it
It's gonna be hard to stop
happens,
that,
and,
yeah.
you know, we realize that it's moving, so it's not no touch. It's basically just, you know, it creates a habitat on the beach that is protected. So just removing it from the beach.
Got it. Don't take it to your car. Okay. I think, let's see, disturbing natural resources. I had a question about this, since you were looking for a VBAC, right?
Sure.
So the Carmel Beach list of items to remove, leave on the beach. And so on the top of it, it says remove is on the left. And then on the right side, it says leave on the right. And then I go down and I say hazardous waste. I'm supposed to leave the hazardous waste?
Yeah.
It's not really color-coded like that, though. That doesn't make any sense because you're
Talk to
removing
Bob about
recycling, and aren't you removing the hazardous waste? I mean, I realized that it was balanced like that.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure what your intention was. Is this going to be on the website or whatever it is? But I mean,
Yeah, no,
looking
I
at
get
it's
it.
confusing. So
Yeah.
that was just a little,
Bob wanted to balance the table out, and
that's just a little.
so I can create something in there to
Got
kind
it.
of
So yeah, that makes sense. This is
differentiate,
Bob. I got it. Yeah, perfect. Okay, so that's good. And then as it relates to the sign, so we've been asked to, as a commission, you're seeking approval. Now, I think I'm under the impression that regardless of whether we're approving it, it's still going to go to city council for.
It's got to go to planning commission first, because they have to approve signs,
Yeah,
don't they?
actually, part of the Del Mar master plan designates the Forest and Beach Commission as the approving agency for regulatory signs in the Del Mar master plan area.
Great, okay,
So, yeah.
thanks. One of the things I just like to comment on, the sign looks great, and I love, who would have known that we're going to put QR codes on things, 5 years ago, right? But here they are, and they can be really informative, and that's great. I just noticed that we've been establishing kind of along our beach, kind of like bringing back a new style of sign that I think is kind of classic and has a really good feel to it. And so I'm not really excited about a metal sign, and that's just my feedback. I really, and I kind of feel like, since I spend so much time kind of right there where those garbage cans are, not for any reason except for the volleyball courts, it's just like, it feels like there's a lot of metal signs. I don't know why. And
Yeah, there are a fair amount. I think there's 3 metal signs that are from the same group. Some of them at the end of the trail, in the little seating area, and then there's one that's near the trash cans on the left side of the pathway. And if there's more questions about that, I know Nicole is online and she can answer any questions, because I know Carmel prefers wooden signs, and so that's just something that this is after it would get approved by the city, it goes to the Coastal Commission for approval, and they're just asking, for our input, and we have discretion on if, the location generally, but the map or the specific plan does guide us that it should be located near the trash facilities.
Got
Should
it.
we ask Nicole to chime in on it?
Nicole, are there like a palette of signs you can choose from? Like maybe you want it to be aluminum, maybe you want it to be copper.
Hi, yes, I don't know if you can see me, but hello, I'm Nicole Palma. I work with the Marine Protected Area Collaborative Network. The signs, there are 124 marine protected areas along the entire state. They're managed as a network. And so the signage across the entire state attempts to be pretty uniform to create that branding of these MPAs. The sign that you're looking at right now is a new template that is being implemented in this round of statewide signage, where we're working across the state to install like over 150 signs. It was developed based on a rigorous evaluation of the current marine protected area signage, including like the brown regulatory ones that you may have seen, like along Asilomar, that say no fishing, no collecting, interpretive signage, harbor signage, and some other types of templates. And this was developed based on the survey evaluation and input, where you're seeing like those icons, the map, the specific regulations, all of that was requested in the evaluation. And then in terms of material, I can see if there's an opportunity to do some sort of other material for this template of sign. But again, it's part of a larger statewide effort, and we're using like a contractor to print hundreds of signs using the aluminum material, which also holds up really well in the salty sea air and environment, and is a little easier to replace and clean if it gets graffitied and damaged.
Got it.
Can I ask a question about signs that I've noticed here in town, and especially if it's an aluminum or some sort of a metal? I've seen we put our stop signs, we frame them in wood, some of them, which I think looks so nice. Does anybody know what I'm?
Yeah, Dale's the one who built all those
Yeah, I
signs,
think
didn't you, Dale?
that's
No, they've been there.
lovely. Can we think about
They've been there
doing
for a
that?
long time. And as they get decay, they're very labor intensive to maintain. Same thing, similar to the squirrel cans. They look great. They've lasted a long time.
Right.
They've come to the end of their lifespan. And they don't allow us to have, well, they're small and they didn't allow us to have the recycling. We're phasing those out, as you know. The stop signs, they did look nice. I'm sure they look great initially, but now the wood's falling apart, and every piece has to be cut by hand. So,
Not framing. How many of these signs are we anticipating having? Just one?
one.
Can we frame one?
We could certainly frame one.
Well, I think Nicole already told us. I mean, this sign is the sign, but it actually
Put a frame
it's a
around it.
unique sign because it's got a map of Carmel Beach, and I know that the other 149 won't. So it is our own sign. So it does have some uniqueness to it, and it sounds like there's an opportunity for some
That kind of
dialogue
brings the charm if we could use
Right.
their sign and just take whatever sign that you use, and we just maybe frame it in wood and put it on a little wooden post with the wood in the back like we do with our stop
That'd be
signs.
awesome. Yeah.
Nicole, is that something that we can consider?
Yes, definitely. As long as, the approved sign is good to go, you can frame it, you can install it kind of in the general area. We want it to be somewhere where people are going to see it as they're accessing the beach. Sometimes they end up like on the back door of the bathroom, so kind of pointless there. But yeah, on an access point, down to the beach would be great. You can frame it, you can install it on a fence or a post, existing infrastructure, or we are working with the fabricator and can provide the metal post. It's like a black coated metal post pedestal type stand for the sign, or the mounting hardware for a fence or a post as well.
Thanks, Nicole. Does any other commissioners have any?
Nicole, could I
feedback?
ask you a
Okay.
quick question? I'm not sure whether, so again, one of my, I don't know, it's a pet peeve, but my issue about the driftwood situation, and I'm kind of flipping it to Santa Cruz, that had an enormous amount of driftwood and other wood debris that was a part of this last year's storms. And they took enormous amounts of it off their beaches, and some of these were state beaches, so this was wrapped around, CFW, and was agreed to go and do it. Are there exceptions to the rule about being able to remove, exorbitant amounts of driftwood and debris that comes in from storms? Is this just a city issue because we're struggling with a high tide line versus coming to the MPA or to the Department of Fish and Wildlife and say, look, we need an exception. We've had a rough winter. We've got a lot of debris on the beach. We want to remove it. Are you familiar with that process? Could you give us our commission, a little feedback on the process if there is one?
I am not sure what that process is. Like if you're following the letter of the law, below the mean high tide line, you're not supposed to remove anything natural, geologic, or cultural. But as you said, there are extenuating circumstances. So I think that would just be a question to CDFW, Steve Wirtz, who you talked to, Mary.
So that's a Fish and Wildlife question for them?
For the mean high tide line and areas where there's the MPA, the Marine Protected Area.
Right.
If the state beaches, that would be state parks, or any jurisdiction below the mean high tide. But it is complicated because that is kind of like a moving line. But in general, it's wherever you see that kind of rack line
Right.
down to the wet water line is where that is.
And then, so
But there are
so in the
scientific
case,
collection
state
permits.
parks would deal with the east side of the high tide line in a state park beach area.
Exactly.
Whereas where with us, we are the city of Carmel, so everything to the east of the high tide line is our responsibility versus the state park system.
Exactly.
Is that correct? Okay.
Well, before we make an approval of the sign, I'd like to open it up for public comment. So thank you, Mary. Is there anyone from Chambers that would like to provide some public comment? Don't see any hands. Oh, hold on a second. Okay, perfect. And then
So everybody knows there's nobody else here.
We got people online.
I'm eminently unprepared for this. I think this subject, I'm Dale Byrne, by the way. Do I just have 3 minutes to represent everybody?
We'll have some latitude there. Dale, go ahead, please.
Okay. So I think this partially came up because Public Works is now providing a few hours on Fridays. Town and Country got involved on Fridays at our request, at Carmel Care's request, I think, to get some help on the beach, and Kelly was going to speak at some point. So, and she probably will speak. I'm a little confused because after waiting 5 months to get the presentation for the Ocean Avenue medians that we were ready in February or something, and we had to wait till July, somehow this came up in less than 30 days. So it would be nice. I really think this should have been tabled and given the public a chance to do some research because it's complicated, as Brian said. And I have some meetings set up with some of the people on this list in person. We have a new board member who's got a lot of experience in this, but it's not till the 25th, so I can't speak confidently about what I'm saying here. But this all started, I think, because if I could get the sample, we do beach cleanups. And by the way, it's been said that we took seaweed off the beach, and we have never taken seaweed off the beach. It's gross. I wouldn't even want to think about taking seaweed off the beach. It's been peed on 100 dogs or 1,000 dogs. But we've never taken a piece of driftwood off the beach. We've never taken any plant material off the beach. So just to clear that up, that's never happened. And I think that Shirley would vouch for that. Kelly would vouch for that. We fill up buckets full of stuff, as Kelly's going to say. So, but there's a massive amount of this stuff. So you walk off the stairway. I don't know, when was the last time you went to the beach, Bob?
3 weeks ago? A few weeks ago.
Okay, well, we're there every day. We spend a lot of time, as many of you do. There's a massive amount of this stuff. So you get off the stairways at Santa Lucia and you step on this. You don't step on sand a lot of times. And it's stuck in the riprap. I've got a presentation I could put together. It's massive. So the idea was we could get 30 people down there, and at least in the areas, and it's in the area that we're talking about, take some of this off the beach. Anyway, we didn't get an answer, and from that, this whole thing happened. And I agree that being consistent is good, but it just seems, first of all, what's driftwood? I'd like to see a study on what driftwood is. I know that when people burn it, and they burn it sometimes every night, because the pieces are just the right size, they're down there, we've got a match, we've got some paper, let's just make a fire. So they make it out of driftwood. It comes into my living room, it's poisonous, dioxin gas. So I don't understand why driftwood has such power that it can't be removed, because it's nasty stuff. It really is nasty. On our beach, it could be considered hazardous waste. And I don't want to make a big deal out of this because I like taking my dog down to the beach. But it's dirty. I think the beach visitors should be considered to some extent in this, because left to an extreme, and you mentioned Santa Cruz, we could end up with our beach that you couldn't use. So I think there has to be some judgment call at some point. This has gone too far. Public Works needs to bring their tractor down, and I agree, our volunteers shouldn't be making those decisions. I agree with that. I think the sign has too much content. We're about to study with you all the signage on the pathway. That's part of the next phase of our project that we're working on. So I think it should probably be considered in context with all the signage, not just one sign having special. But if you want to make it look nice, Shirley could figure out how to use their sign, put it on the same material that we're probably going to use for all the rest of the signs, and we can make a nice wood thing like we've done for some other things. So we're more than happy to help with that. And I agree with Brian that we should be careful about what we seek control of, because we're getting inundated on all sides by all kinds of state agencies and losing control of our town. So I'm sure I've got more to say. There's some samples, there's some other issues on the beach that we're probably not going to talk about tonight. But our sand used to be white. This is the whitest sand on the beach at this point, so you can see we need to be careful about what we do if we want to protect that white sand. All right, thank you.
Thanks, Dale.
Great, thanks, Dale. It doesn't look like anyone else from Chambers, but I do see that Shirley Moon's hand is up. So, Shirley?
Hi, I just wanted to say that I totally agree with Commissioner Sowers in every single thing he said, and I would encourage him to keep his voice strong and stay with that track. It's reasonable and logical way for us to take care of our beach. I am totally in favor of removing the small, medium driftwood above the mean high tide line and all this storm debris. The public has already voted. All you have to do is go down there and see they've gathered it all up and put it in piles. They don't want it on their beach. It interferes with recreational activities. The dogs pee all over it. The kids step on it, and it is sharp and dangerous. So people are down there playing games, running, football. They don't want to be jumping over all of this sharp driftwood. And so if you just look down there, the people have done it. We just need to finish the job and get it off of that beach. And I understand the city's wanting to be consistent with the state mandates, but I don't think it's the right way to go with driftwood. I think it needs to be removed, clean that beach up, and keep it the way we want it to be. So it's easy to walk on, easy to play on, and the dogs can have less to pee on. Thank you.
Thank you, Shirley. Is there anyone else on Zoom that would care to make a comment regarding this?
I think Kelly this is for her.
Kelly?
Hi, I apologize because I don't know how to raise my hand on this thing yet.
No problem. We see you.
So, thank you. I really appreciate the amount of effort and all that has gone into this, what was in the PowerPoint by the city. That's really great. I didn't know about it, and I couldn't really see it on my Zoom very well. So just because I had submitted some of this in writing, if I can just go through really fast and just add, there are a couple of things that I don't think were included. So basically it's just that I was informed that, it makes sense to me that Carmel Cares sort of works with the Forest and Beach Commission and everybody to come up with some sort of comprehensive plan, just especially regarding litter abatement. And what we're looking for is guidance and participation in a couple different areas as well, which I guess could happen down the line or something, but it also seems fairly urgent. So one was developing an educational and volunteer recruitment program for our community and getting financial support from the city to place articles or information in the pine cone. And the articles would also be a call to help to get more volunteers to keep the beach clean, because it's kind of a difficult job. And I feel that they could even be on call if they don't want to really commit. That would be extremely helpful. And it would also inform the dog owners of their ongoing responsibilities and the ordinances that exist for managing their dogs and the dog's waste. The second item was developing best practices and who to call handouts. It sounds like that was part of what's already been done. So I'd love to take a look at that. And then the accurate policy of what can be removed from the beach, that was clearly part of that's what's being looked at right now. And then there was just developing a reliable calendar with the city that describes exactly who, what, when, where cities or others are cleaning the beach, so that those efforts can be coordinated with the volunteer efforts. And we also would hope that the commission could help ensure that there's, or the city, that it has sufficient employees to handle any additional work that creates. And then the last thing was just developing a policy to monitor and report illegal fires and find those who build the fires. Because even with the signage currently, wood fires continue to be built on the sand, leaving charcoal to damage the land, the sand and the ocean, and to be used for graffiti. So I just wanted to really thank everybody for that presentation, the work that went into it, the guidelines that are being developed, and Carmel Cares, especially the beach pickup posse, really appreciates any assistance the commission can give to this effort to keep our beach clean. Well, thank you very much.
Thanks, Kelly. And I would echo the work done here by Mary. It's impressive. And, there was a comment made that it seemed to be something that was just quickly addressed. Well, I would probably counter that. We've got a person in place that actually is able to do that, as opposed to prior time where we didn't have someone who could really be active and address something that is an issue for the community, the residents, and the volunteer groups. So I think it's an important thing to state. We've been asked to approve the sign, in terms of, well, if there's no more public comment, then it doesn't look like it. I'm going to bring it back to the commission for discussion. I don't see any additional hands. So, let's have a quick chat at least about it. I think we provided some good feedback, hopefully. But the approval of this sign, this is the first time we've had a chance to see it. Where is everybody on this?
I think the sign. I think there's a lot of language in this. I'm concerned about the message we're trying to communicate to residents and tourists that are down at the beach. I don't know how they're going to read regulations and definitions and how all that's going to be presented in a sign. No one's going to look at that. There must be some. Again, the top thing where you've got, obviously no collecting is pretty self-evident. Fishing, non-consumer activities, entry okay. I'm not sure what that means. I just think if there was something that had a little more emoji type signage to it that is stressing the points of the policy versus, kind of verbiage that makes it a little more difficult for a reader to really kind of look at a sign and understand what it's about. It just seems like a lot to try and get on one sign that any resident or tourist is going to sit there and read. But maybe the MPA has had experience with this and they feel that this is their best signage. I don't know. It's just a question.
Yeah, I think that's a good question. I think Nicole did speak to it, right? That this is their newest iteration of signs, and I imagine as Mary was out looking for some guidance and what's out there. Well, hold on. Here's this group that's been working with these stakeholders and this has been essentially some good beach policy and in terms of establishing like here's some rules, right? That's, I think, I'm with you. I think there's some good, and then there's a lot of stuff, right? Where are you guys here? Guys and gals.
I agree that this pack here in the middle has too much writing, and I think that very few people will read it. So how could we? I like the three signs. I like the two signs, the round ones at the above, but I'm not sure what non-consumptive activities at the beach is when it's already said no collecting and entry okay. Does it mean you can go to the beach? Is that what it?
I think that's what that means. That's my guess.
So,
this is Nicole. I'm happy to answer these questions. I don't know if you want me to, so just let me know.
No, go ahead. We're asking questions around the sign per se, and we're just a little confused because it seems to just be very, very robust.
Yes. So there are reasons for all of that. All of those icons that you see are CDFW icons to be used for these marine protected area outreach. So it shows you what you can't do, no collecting. Shows you what you can do, but there are limitations, no fishing. The non-consumptive means that recreational, non-consumptive activities, they're green, allowed. Okay, entry, you can access the marine protected area, that's allowed. They don't prohibit access. That's important for them to highlight because some people think that a protected area means you can't enter it and enjoy it and go swimming or surfing or whatever it may be. The idea of the icons is for that quick at a glance communication of the regulations. Then I agree, lots of text. Those are the exact detailed regulations for this marine protected area. They're included because of the evaluation and feedback from local stakeholders and partners up and down the state said that those regulations are needed. Other signs didn't have them or had very summarized regulations and then said, see this website for the details. And that's not helpful to people. They want to see it right there on the sign. There is that QR code if people want to go and explore more information, but that may not be used by someone who's going down there to fish or collect and doesn't know the rules. The sign is intended to be like a regulatory sign with limited information. It's meant to communicate the regulations for the MPA and show you where you are in relation to it. There are interpretive signs for the MPAs along the state. They were the least effective in the evaluation. If people look at a sign, they look at it very quickly. And so the idea is that those icons are communicating that sign very quickly for the regulations. If you don't like this one, there is another option. It's the brown regulatory signs, a little smaller. They say marine protected area at the top. There'd be the 2 icons and then no detailed regulations, just kind of California, CDFW, call this number. So they have less content. They're brown and white. That is an option. Again, this new template was developed because of the evaluation that said that more detailed regulations are needed and a map showing people where they are.
Do you have an
I hope
example
that
of
answers
that,
some
Nicole,
questions.
by
And I
any
can
chance?
share, I can share this evaluation too, if you're interested in digging deep into that.
Sorry, there was another question.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I was sorry. I thought you were finishing. Do you have an example of that other sign by any chance that you could bring up and show us right now? By any chance? Thank you.
1 second. It might take me a minute. Looking through all of our folders. All right, here we go. So am I allowed to share my screen? And it's disabled, so it needs to be enabled.
Is
Can you?
I think Joel or
Enable her to
Sebastian.
share.
Let's see. Hang on 1 second. We're going through our technical steps here. Let's see.
No problem.
Tom knows which button to push.
Where's that clicker?
Share the screen.
So we don't know how to share screens, kind of like we probably want the old sign.
Yvette, are you the host?
Yeah, the host, usually there's a little arrow kind of like by the share screen button, and if you click that, there should be a setting that says like enable share.
It's too big the host.
Oh. You just don't have one of those signs laying around that you could just hold up?
I actually don't. I have everything else laying around.
You've been taking them down all of the other beaches, probably. It might be a little rusty.
Oh, yeah, I can share now. Here we go.
Nicole.
All right.
Nicole, excuse me.
Yeah,
Kelly.
she is. We hear her.
Can you all see this? It would look
Oh,
basically
perfect.
something like this.
Oh, look how cute that is. Mm-hmm.
Take a fin
I like
fish
that a lot
allowed.
better than this one.
I do too.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Thanks for
Yeah,
sharing
it
that.
just
That's a classic.
this area because the regulations like allow for fishing pretty much of everything. Finfish is a pretty broad definition, but no collection of anything else. So like the snails, the urchins, which we have gotten reports of collecting there, including of abalone and mussels, So that is a compliance concern at this MPA. Seaweed, only commercial take of kelp is allowed there, not recreational. So it's just those nuances that you lose in this, but if you like this one better, that is fine.
Nicole, this is about if someone did that QR code, whatever it's called.
Yeah.
It would still get the same information as the other one, right?
Indeed, yeah.
Just kicks
It
right
goes to CDFW's
You get there,
website.
dfgcalifornia.gov.
Hey, Nicole, can I ask one
Comes up as
clarification?
error.
I had kind of read in the
That's the same
regulations,
error.
I don't know if this was California regulations, that you could take 5 pounds or 50 pounds or 1 piece of driftwood. Is that a California regulation? You know what that was? I was kind of.
Yeah, that's not part of the marine protected area regulation. So yeah, I believe that would be a larger, probably Title 14.
So that's out of the MPA. So that would be if you're at a non-MPA related beach or area, there were the California regulations. You could take 50 pounds or 1 piece of driftwood or something. I was trying to.
Right.
clarify.
Yeah. Fish and Game Code regulations that manage, natural resources
Right.
do apply at the non-MPA protected areas where collecting and fishing is allowed, and they do apply in the MPA. So people are allowed to fish, but they still need to follow Fish and Game Code regulations for size and take limits and species allowed and time of year
Okay.
within the MPA.
Okay, well, thanks, Nicole, for answering some additional questions. Bringing it back in terms of an approval of a sign, I mean, right now, I'd venture that I'd rather have this get out in front of our stakeholders in our town and provide some feedback to Mary and staff specifically about things that they might like. I think I need to do a little more homework, even though I swear I prepared, but how we ended up in the MPA for sure versus not ending up there, right? And I'd like to understand that a little bit better on my own, and perhaps maybe have a chance to talk to you, Mary, about it. So I'm rather not. I'm opposed to approving this signage at this time, but certainly want to revisit it. And I don't know, where does everybody else stand here?
I think that's good.
Yeah, I don't think this is something we're voting on. It was just making a recommendation. Is that okay? Is that correct?
Is that correct?
Yeah, I believe that, for the signage.
For the signage.
I think it does say for you to approve, but.
Yeah, I think it should be a motion to approve or deny the sign.
Yeah.
Actually for both.
Is that what you want? Well, I thought the first was approve the guidelines.
Or you could say,
I see. So I'm approving guidelines too.
Continue. You can do continue, of course. Or other.
Got it. Well, I'm going to make a motion for continuation of both recommendations requested.
I second it.
Commissioner Burling,
Yes.
Commissioner Mickey,
Yes.
Chair Myers.
Yes.
Commissioner Sowers.
Yes.
Thank you. The motion is passed.
Okay. Thank you very much. Again, a lot of work in that, Mary. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, moving on with our orders of business. We are at further commission discussion regarding the beach infrastructure tour of inspection conducted on July 20th, 2023, and needed shoreline infrastructure repairs. Is that to you, Bob?
Yeah, I think Chairman Myers, you asked to put this back on at the special council meeting, so I did, because you're the boss.
Okay.
Your Honor.
Yeah. Oh, boy, here we go.
Back to back.
You heard that one, right? Commissioner Sowers, you heard?
What was it? I missed that one.
Last week.
Oh,
Last
what, the
week,
strategic thing?
Your Honor.
Oh.
Yeah, that was great. Okay, so Your Honor, just a quick, some tidbits here. There's not really much to report new, but back in March, you remember our consultants presented the shoreline condition assessment report, which had the big picture of what needs to be repaired. July 20th, you did the tour of inspection. August 10th, Commissioner Sowers gave us that good handout with a list of, and to kind of summarize it, basically, you summarized the tour and you agreed with the overall assessment from the consultants, but you emphasized the urgency to make certain repairs and that type of thing. And then at the On August the 30th, there was a City Council Strategic Priorities Workshop. Commissioners Sowers, Brzezowski, and Myers all did a tremendous job making it loud and clear to the council that this should, there's problems with the beach stairs. There needs to be more funding. There needs to be higher urgency. So I commend you guys for doing your part. The direction to staff from council was, there was no talk about additional funding, although I do have a little snippet on that one. No additional funding, no change in the prioritization of this component to do the repairs, although the coastal engineering study, which was that one report, and then also the, what's it called, the sea level rise, the sand movement report, that bigger initiative is still a higher priority. So anyway, Chair Myers requested that we put this back on for further discussion. Other than that, I was going to save it for the Public Works report, but I might as well do it now. So at the City Council meeting on Tuesday night, Council approved staff to submit an application to the Coastal Commission for requesting $500,000 to do, $450,000 to do phase 2 of the coastal engineering study, and $50,000 to reimburse city staff for project management time. That's good news. The City Council for this current fiscal year allocated only $100,000 to start phase 2. Now that we have this non-competitive grant that we're very, high expectation that will be approved. Once we have that locked in, not only can we do all of phase 2, or funding for all of phase 2, but also that $100,000 which would have started phase 2 can be shifted with council approval, be shifted from the $250,000 that we have for the repairs, go up to $350,000. It's still a drop in the bucket for what we need, but it's $100,000 more than we had before. So that is good news. And also, the other thing is we were working with a consultant to launch the effort of cost estimating, design of the beach stairs. Long ways to go, but I did receive a proposal and I sent back comments the other day. So working on getting the process started with a long ways to go. That's all I have to report, but happy to answer questions.
All right, got it. Thank you. I believe that the request to have it brought back in September was really a representation of the mood of the commission in terms of the sense of urgency around what we consider to be some serious safety issues. And so asking for, and we'll ask again for, updated reports on what's being repaired, and so that we are kept abreast of it. I feel like won't speak for the entire commission, but I believe I represent the commission's thoughts that there are, this needs to be top of mind, and we want to support staff in any way we can, if it means going to city council meetings and speaking individually, in any capacity, so that the funding can be made available to address some of the most pressing things along the beach. So thank you for bringing it back. Is there anything else from the commission?
So again, Bob, you reiterated the budget, and I'm still a little confused about the dollars.
Okay.
So what has the city spent to date for both the sand report and the infrastructure report? Was there a price tag for both, or
Okay, so phase 1.
This is phase 1.
Part of phase 1, the first report was back in March.
Infrastructure, right?
And then the second
sand
thing we just had with the sand. I think there was initially 4, but it's 5 tasks. That's funded $175,000.
So $175,000, of which we've completed 2, right?
Two. Number 3 is almost done, so we're getting close.
And number 3 is what? What is that?
Mary, do you remember the name of it? Okay, it's coming.
What is it though?
It's more analysis of the beach and sea level rise.
And this is all in the $175,000
yes.
price tag, right?
Yes.
And there are 2 more that fall behind it?
If we go back in time, the prior year, because I believe you were on commission for a while, the prior year we only had $25,000 to do just a beach sand study.
Right.
That got, we added 150,000 to do the infrastructure, to do more.
Which was part of the coastal, or not the
Coastal engineering study, yeah. So we
Right,
took the
exactly.
25 plus, we added 150 last year, combined 175. It's in progress. It's
Okay.
half done or whatever.
Okay, right.
So for this new fiscal year, we have a new batch of 250,000, which we
Right.
spent almost nothing so far. But that 250 probably will be 350.
Right, and what will that 350 be for?
It will be for a consultant to do cost estimates on all the infrastructure repairs that need to be done, because we don't have.
At the beach?
At the beach, just at the beach, yeah. It goes back to that first task, that coastal
Right.
infrastructure repair report. How much is the cost, because confirm the priorities, how much does each and every item cost, how it should be packaged for bidding and construction, and then also design the repairs of the worst beach stairs. And then use that, hopefully, well, we should have the money to fix the two worst beach stairs. That's where the 350 goes.
So
It's not going to fix, I'm sorry to remember, it's not going to fix revetments, it's not going to fix the 4th Avenue outfall wall.
Don't a lot of the companies that do the revetments and this or that, their experience of this, do they need schematics for how to lay it out? Because they're doing it, and they probably won't even look at it. They're going to lay it out based on their experience of doing it properly. So do we have to go and create all these plans and spend a bunch of money?
Yes.
When we have to do that?
Mhm.
That's a requirement. Why?
Yeah.
Don't the contractors actually do those as a part of their plan to do the work?
It's public funds. We have to, it's public works projects, we have to follow state, public works state laws, which requires plans and specifications, formal bidding. All the bells and whistles.
That actually do the actual work of laying the
Yes.
riprap or building seawalls, they don't provide that as a front end, as a part of their work project.
We could make,
You
we
can make
have
that.
to have a fair level playing field for them to bid on.
Okay.
If we could do what's called a performance spec. Hey, contractors, you must fix this, and you have to provide all the plans associated.
Mhm.
We could do that. I wouldn't advise it in this particular case. Maybe like revetments, that might be something that's more clear cut, but like the reconstruction of walls,
Yeah, it's
that's a different
probably
animal.
a little different,
Yeah.
but I'm just, so I'm trying to understand, because I don't know, and I'd asked
Right.
Brandon a little bit about this. What do we have back in the files for what was done previously? I mean, do we have the schematics on what we laid out down in the beach right today for the revetments? There must have been. There must have been some level of engineering that was done for those.
No, there was.
revetments, right?
There was.
Yeah.
There was. In fact, I think the geotech guy said that he designed it or something,
Right.
and he was proud because his held up.
The only reason I'm asking, Bob, is
Right.
we're concerned as a commission that we need something done yesterday.
I understand.
And I see we're spending a lot of money
And
for
it will
studies.
take a lot of time.
And we continually, as a city, spend a lot of money for studies, and then nothing happens. And again, it's a budget constraint, I get it. But we spend all this money up front for these studies, and then the studies sit and collect dust for 4 and 5 years, and then it just falls by the wayside because we don't have the funds to execute the study. And again, maybe I'm over exaggerating, but it's frustration a little bit.
Yeah, no, I hear you.
I mean, I'm sure it's
I hear
frustrating for
you.
you because you've got to go through all this.
For this program, there's 3 parts. There's the study, which we talked about, the 175, and now we're going to throw another 450,000 at it. That's all the
Tell you
study.
for those pictures, I would have
That's all
done it
the
for
study.
25.
I can tell you about how much the roof bid was if you want to go there. The second part, which we're talking about now, which just saw the proposal, is for a consultant to design. That's not the study. That's for the design, prepare the